Live from Banjul, this is GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. We begin with our top stories this hour. President Adama Barrow receives the final report of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, which details the work of the Commission over the last 3 years. With just 9 more days to the end of the race to the State House, presidential aspirants move closer to the metropolis to seek votes from the electorates. Chinese ambassador to the Gambia briefs journalists.
The 8th edition of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Focus is due to be held in Dakar, Senegal.
Movers in the food and nutrition security in Sahelian and West African governments meet in Banjul to validate documents, balance sheets and nutrition focus for Sahel and West African countries. And the internationals, we head to Sudan, where at least 8 people are killed and 17 injured, including students in the capital. Well, these plus other stories coming ahead in this edition of the news at 2000 hours. I am Fatimata Chaman. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you, and we begin this bulletin with the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, who earlier on Thursday received the final report of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission at a ceremony at the State House. The 17-volume report details the work of the TRRC over the past 3 years, in which over 390 people gave testimonies to the Commission. The TRRC was set up as part of transitional justice process undertaken by government to probe atrocity. Details in this report.
After 3 years of public hearings in which over 309 witnesses testified, the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission finally submitted its report to the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow of State House. The commission was set up by government in 2018 as part of the transitional justice mechanism to probe gross human rights abuses under the 22-year reign of former President Yahya Jammeh. It is headed by the international jurist Dr. Lamin Sisi and comprised 11 commissioners selected from across the country after undergoing a rigorous process of vetting.
Of the Commission and the Secretariat of the PDOIS conducting outreach activities throughout the country. 93 witnesses testified self-confessed from perpetrators.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dauda Jallow, praised the Commission for completing their assignment after 3 years.
Every journey comes to an end one day. They have accomplished the assignment that has been assigned to them. And they're here today to meet for nearly the past 3 years.
The Deputy Chairman of the Commission, Adelaide Sose, described the ceremony as the end of an epic journey that took a toll on the entire country, given what she said were emotional and traumatic testimonies.
It was a very difficult task. It was by no means easy. The public hearings took a toll on not only the commissioners, but the country as a whole, because they were emotionally used our emotional integrity to be done.
Receiving the report, the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, said the event marked an important milestone for the Gambia as it moves to reconcile with the past.
On reflection, it is a source of pride that in 2017, my government took the wise decision to establish the TRRC through an act of the National Assembly. as contained in its mandate, the Commission was to investigate human rights and other abuses committed from 1994 to 2016 in order to bring about justice and accountability, healing and reconciliation among Gambians, and to effect reparations for deserving victims.
He, however, called on Gambians to learn from the experiences of other African countries that have now moved on, adding that the process should serve to promote healing and reconciliation.
Through the TRRC, Gambians now know what happened on Gambian soil in the past. Although we have decided as a country to unearth the truth, our desire is to create a path for healing and reconciliation with the goal of coexisting peacefully as Gambians. I am certain that if we choose to do so, we can live together in peace and harmony without any form of injustice and nurture our young democracy in a stable nation where the rule of law prevails in the best interest of all.
President Barrow therefore thanked the Commission, witnesses and stakeholders for supporting the process, reassuring that his government will carefully study the report and its recommendations before publishing a white paper in 6 months to inform the public of its position. The President, however, advised Gambians to exercise restraint. Mamadou Jallow, GRCS News.
Well, let's now shift our attention to the presidential campaign because the deputy party leader of the United Democratic Party says politics of deception is now over. Ajiyam Seka made these remarks during rallies across Foni. She noted that Gambians are now aware of their civic rights and responsibilities whilst calling on supporters not to sell their votes to fraudulent people. Well, that report by Babu Cham will air in our subsequent bulletin. Staying with the campaign trail now, because the People's Democratic Organization for Independence and Socialism, the PDOIS presidential candidate, Honorable Halifa Sallah and entourage, held spot meetings in Mahmud Fana, Ker Katim, Ker Malima, Batinjol, and Kudang in Nyamina East Central River Region. Yara Jallow has more.
Honorable Sallah, who doubled as a lawmaker for Sarakunda, promised the people the PDOIS-led government would bring about a system change which he said aimed to establish a cooperative state that provides services to all and render protection for all. Sallah said PDOIS is envisioning the birth of a new era of a sovereign republic with sovereign people who are the architect of a destiny free from ignorance, injustice, harnessing of sovereign national wealth to promote the general welfare of the people, adding that under the administration, development will be people-centered. Honorable Sallah told his supporters that PDOIS is aimed to build a republic of a community of sovereign citizens who have the right to be protected and shielded from ignorance and poverty.
Xamuloo ki nga doon xamuloo li nga moom xamuloo ni ko war a dénkaane mu jëriñ keneen moomal ko bopp judd ci coono màgge ci coono màgge ci coono dee ci coono doom ci coono dee ci coono set ci coono dee ci coono.
Sallah said the PDOIS-led government would ensure the villages and wards have treasury where taxes and rates collected from the areas are deposited for the development of their areas. The Serakunda lawmaker also revealed that PDOIS would eradicate poverty in the country and ensure the people live in a life of liberty, dignity, and prosperity. Sallah said if voted into office, they would establish cooperative banks. He further stated that the cooperative state will promote consumption-based welfare by providing free education with both services where applicable and meals to children up to tertiary level. They have been impacting on the lives and livelihood of Gambians in the past and will continue the momentum if elected into office. For his part, the leader of Youth for Change movement, Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, called on the people of Nyamina East to continue supporting PDOIS for stability, security, economic growth, and development of the country.
Number one, naneka ko hamne amna pehe bi yanko gise ci manifesto black and white.
Several other speakers lamented the lack of social amenities in their communities and called for the actualization of a system change. The talk continues. For GRTS News, this is Yero Jallo reporting.
Moving on now, the National Unity Party concluded engagements with the people of the Upper River region with meetings in Basse Kabakama and Mansajankunda after 5 days of campaigning in the region. The NUP leader promised to transform the development landscape of the country by establishing technical and vocational training centers across the country. This, according to their manifesto, would create jobs by providing the required human resource base in the Gambia, as well enhance growth for economic independence for citizens and residents of the country. Usman Mane reports.
The NUP wrapped up issues. Abdullah Ibrahim Jammeh Kemane said lack of opportunities led to many young people embarking on irregular journeys to Europe for greener pasture. This, among other social, economic and security issues, is affecting the livelihoods of the people, according to the speakers. The NUP National Women Mobilizer, Mam Fatou Nyasi, explained to the electorates that it is their fundamental and constitutional rights to vote for their choice. She, however, advised them to appoint leaders and take care of their welfare with their family. And yet still, you are suffering. This fight, she added. After 5 days, an interview explained his experience.
The thing that really gratifies me is the level of awareness of electors in this country. They really seem to know their rights, and they know what to expect from a government. And, I am very convinced that when they go to the polls on the 4th of December, whatever decision they take will be based on the best judgment they have under the circumstances.
Well, some of the issues raised is access to healthcare and quality and potable drinking water. What can NUP do to address those issues?
We do have some extensive programs as outlined in our manifesto to look at some of these burning issues really. It's very sad to bring for potable water to drink. And of course, the healthcare situation in the country is very appalling. We know that the people here don't have good access. And even if where their facilities in existence, they don't seem to have qualified personnel, either in the form of nurses or doctors operating in those stations, and even medication. It's a big challenge for them. And everywhere we go, I mean, it's a repetition of the same issues, and I think the NUP government will really address these issues as outlined in the manifesto.
Jammeh further resolves to make the Gambia a beacon of hope for young people of the country, irrigation and mechanized agriculture to maximize production and productivity, and to ensure that agricultural activity is undertaken throughout the country on an all-year-round basis, a message that will be re-echoed in the Central River region south as the NUP campaign trail enters the region. This is an area known for rice cultivation, thus described by many as the food basket of the country. Usman Mane, GRTS.
Now, the NPP-led coalition has wrapped up its campaign in the Funis with rallies in Buyam and Somita. The incumbent, His Excellency Adama Barrow, appealed to the people of Funi to turn a new page in the political evolution of the country by voting massively for the NPP-led coalition, which seeks to build a broad-based government to enhance national development, peace and reconciliation. As we hear in this report by Mamadou Jallo, the president also received the endorsement of Yusufa Doumbouya, leader of the Democratic Party.
With barely 2 weeks before the presidential election, the leader of the Democratic Party, Yusufa Doumbouya, has also endorsed the incumbent, His Excellency Adama Barrow. The two met at the State House, where Mr. Doumbouya formally announced his decision to join the NPP-led coalition.
We're here to develop the country. He put his agenda out there, put my agenda out here. For example, Doumbouya care about education, some form of free education. So this, we have a conversation in place on this, still on this. It's just a finishing up today. And if you are out there, you care about developing the Gambia, I think if you find someone who is willing to do that, you can align your values with that. I'm holding for Gambian people. That's why it is.
Having secured his endorsement, the NPP-led coalition of 20 political parties and former independent presidential aspirants completed its campaign in the Ponies with 2 meetings in Boyam and Somita. The meetings sought to rally the APRC supporters in this former ruling party stronghold to massively vote for the NPP in the election. President Barrow struck a reconciliatory tone at the 2 rallies, urging Fonyi to embrace the new dispensation which is set to usher in unprecedented developments if re-elected. He described Fonyi as an integral part of the country, with rights and responsibility to join the bus that would deliver them at the desired destination of peace, development, and prosperity. We have developed a new agenda that will bring you unprecedented developments, the incumbent appealed. Therefore, I call on all citizens to embrace my party to secure another 5-year mandate. Several prominent political mobilizers also spoke at the 2 rallies, all describing how Fonyi has changed in the last 4 years. As a former ruling party stronghold, they agree that Fonyi intends to keep with its long-standing tradition of not opposing a sitting government. This, according to Fatou Mane of Somita, means they will vote for the MPP to ensure that President Barrow wins with an overwhelming majority in the Ponies. Honorable Sunkaru Baji of Fonyi Prefect pledged to resolve all problems with the NATO Alliance APRC faction and resist any temptation of selling their votes to opposition politicians. The campaign climaxed with another rally in Jiboro in Combo East, where President Barrow received a rousing welcome from the youths of the village. The regional chairman of the PPP, Malangba Mane, called on Combo East to vote for the NPP-led coalition, as its candidate has the interest of the country and the people at heart. The veteran PPP leader, O.J. Jallo, described President Barrow as a charismatic leader who shares attributes with the late President Jawara. He said both men desire peace and have shown extraordinary desire to promote democracy, justice, and tolerance. These traits, O.J. added, gives President Barrow an edge over his opponents and makes him the ideal candidate for re-election. The NRP leader also heaped praise on President Barrow, saying he has the health, energy, and ability to govern the country, as opposed to his closest rival.
This is all the more reason why we have to vote for a man who is strong, energetic, reliable, able, who can move this country forward. If we want sustainability, if we want continuity, if you want a leader who is strong and can take decisions, we cannot be silent about it.
The president thanked Combo East for the massive reception that he said reflects the mood in the entire country, where citizens have shown a genuine desire to elect the NPP-led coalition. He frowned on the politics of tribalism, agreeing that as citizens, we should embrace and tolerate political diversity for the sake of democracy and peaceful coexistence. The NPP actions risk tearing the country apart. He finally promised to construct all the major roads in the Combos, disclosing that the first phase of these projects have already started. The campaign continues this Thursday with
And over now to a press release from the IEC. The Independent Electoral Commission brings to the attention of the general public that following the filing of petitions at the High Court by Dr. Ismaila Cisse of Citizens Alliance and Honorable Mai Ahmed Fati of the Gambia Moral Congress, the court delivered ruling with respect to the said petition on the 23rd and the 24th of November 2021 respectively. Whilst the IEC respects the decision of the court, it will exercise its constitutional right of appeal at the Court of Appeal of the Gambia. The Commission remains committed to conducting free, fair and credible elections. The usual cooperation of all political parties, candidates, stakeholders and the general public is solicited. The release ends. And away from political activities, we'll look at some diplomatic affairs because the Chinese ambassador to the Gambia has briefed journalists on the upcoming 8th Ministerial Conference on China-Africa Forum scheduled to take place in Senegal. The forum aims to set new goals for partnership between China and Africa. Janke Toure has the rest of that story in this report.
The 8th edition of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Forecast is due to be held in Dakar, Senegal from 29 to 30th November 2021. The theme of the conference is deepening the Sino-African partnership and promoting sustainable development to build a China-Africa community with a shared future in the new era. The Chinese ambassador to the Gambia, His Excellency Ma Jianchun, has briefed the media on preparations ahead of the event as well as its significance. He said the meeting will review and assess follow-up implementation of the outcomes of the 2018 FOCAC Beijing Summit and joint China-Africa response to COVID-19 in strengthening China-Africa relations.
During the FOCAC Ministerial Meet Conference, China and African partners, including the Gambia, will jointly assess the implementation of the outcomes of the 2018 FOCAC Beijing Summit, as well as outcomes of the extraordinary China-Africa Summit on solidarity against COVID-19. China is ready to stand together with African-Pacific cooperation for the next 3 years, based on the principle of extensive consultation, joint contribution, and shared benefits.
Key measures, according to Chinese authorities in Banjul, will be adopted towards transforming and upgrading China-Africa cooperation.
Speaking of international engagement, the China-Africa cooperation is a fine example of jointly building a community with a shared future. The 7th Conference of Chinese and African Entrepreneurs will be held as a side event during the FOCAC Ministerial Meet Conference.
Ambassador Jianchun also added that China is ready to join hands with African friends to deepen their mutual existing partnership and promote sustainable development. Janketure, GRTS News.
Now, in a bid to enhance the availability of teachers and other stakeholders, as it is about to roll out a $3 million revolving fund for actors in small ruminant production. Ibrahim Abba has the rest of that story.
The Small Ruminant Production Enhancement Gambia government from the Islamic Development Bank. The project seeks to increase the population of small ruminants with renewed focus at the beginning of a $3 million revolving fund. The project coordinator, Mamun Jai, noted that one of the key components of the project is to access Islamic financing for actors interested in small ruminant production.
The aim of this small ruminant project is to contribute to the improvement of the livelihood of pastoral communities in the Gambia by strengthening the productivity and the resilience of the rural communities and stimulating business entrepreneurship in the livestock sector. That is why there is this facility of accessing finance.
Described the project as an important undertaking in the country's drive for food self-sufficiency.
There was a lot of debate as to whether this should be approved or not. But finally, the committee was able to convince the plenary to approve it with the expectation that Gambians would be given the opportunity to have access to project coordinator.
Officially declaring the training open, Mamadou Sow, who deputized for the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, disclosed that activities of the project from production to consumption are in line with the country's quest to meet the sustainable development goals.
As a government, we place much premium on financial inclusion for every Gambian. Today marks a significant milestone of the project and the sector at large. The launching of the Islamic microfinance will not only open doors to access finance for financial constrained farmers, but will also boost small ruminant production and productivity in the country.
Officials are optimistic that the availability of funds for actors in the livestock production will discourage the importation of small ruminants from neighboring countries, thereby encouraging self-sufficiency in meat production. Ibrahim Abba, GRTS News.
Now, stakeholders in the food and nutrition security in Sahelian and West African governments and partners are in Banjul for a 3-day regional technical consultative meeting. As Mojo Bajan reports, the convergence is validating the ex-post 2020-2021 and provisional 2020-2022 cereal and food balance sheets and nutrition forecast for Sahel and West African countries.
Over the last couple of years, sales countries have been increasingly promoting food security information systems, monitoring agricultural production to prevent food crisis and better manage farms and yields to avoid the disastrous effects of food insecurity. Experts in charge of food security and market divisions in the Sahel say a series of meetings have been conducted in all 17 countries to have a picture of the region's crop production for this year.
Our capital is honored to host this important sales meeting, which contributes to providing relevant information with a view to provide appropriate solutions for a sustainable food and nutrition security in the Sahel and West Africa.
This conclave is set to contribute to the provisions of relevant information with a view to providing appropriate solutions for sustainable food and nutrition security in the Sahel and West Africa.
This regional technical consultation enables the regional food crisis prevention and management mechanisms of the Food Crisis Prevention and Management Network to fully play its roles as a permanent watchdog on food and nutrition security in order to help public authorities with the support of their partners to address the imminent crisis of risks and the crisis that would affect conditions of access to food and the livelihood of the Sahel and the West Africa populations.
Dr. Suleiman Uvadrago, Director General of the Agreement Regional Center, hailed the Gambia government for hosting this validation exercise, especially during the COVID-19 era. This forum is also expected to carry out close monitoring of the food and nutrition situation in order to ensure early detection of cyclical difficulties noted in the synthesis and comparison of various information. Modu Bajan, GRTS.
Now, the Gambia Immigrations Department launches the validated security plan for the 2021 election cycle, which forms part of the reform agenda by the Gambia Immigrations Department, which is an inclusive of the ongoing security sector reform. Details in this report by Aissatou Keita.
When monitoring and evaluation is conducted, gaps will be identified, and we are interested to know how we are able, or how we should be able to overcome those gaps, the deficiencies also, and the challenges that we have. Even on areas that we have overperformed, we should critically ask ourselves why it happened like that we were able to perform or outperform, in those areas.
A recap of efforts made in the security sector reform undertaking, where this Immigrations Department remains central, brings together stakeholders meeting to design a strategic course towards immigration reform to enhance border security. The move to promote border management and immigration comes with a considered reform agenda and an operationalized strategic plan 2019-2024, which outlines the Gambia Immigration Department's predefined goals and key performance areas.
Yes. My office is keen in its endeavor to lead and ensuring we have complete reform to meet by formulating operational plans aligned.
Agency responsible for the facilitation, controlling and monitoring of movement in and outside the Gambia seeks to increase resolve to implement its quota in security sector reforms with adequate evaluations of delivery to ascertain the efficacy of tasks in the implementation process.
It is my prerogative to urge you all to conform to GID reforms as well as providing solutions to identify performance gaps and operational requirements of GID administration.
Monitoring and evaluation exercise is part of efforts to transform the Gambia Immigrations Department for improved performance outcomes in pursuance of the department's goals in all areas of operation and management. For GRTS News, this is Aissatou Keita.
We take our first break now. The news continues in just a moment. Do stay.
The Gambia goes to the polls on December 4th, 2021 to elect a president who will steer the affairs of the country for the next 5 years. As the country prepares for this spirited national exercise, the National Council for Civic Education, NCCE, reminds the public that the conduct of presidential election is a constitutional requirement as enshrined in Section 46 of the 1997 Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia, and voting a civic duty which every eligible patriotic citizen should discharge on December 4, 2021, as enshrined in Sections 26 and 39 of the Constitution. As politicians embark on campaign trails across the length and breadth of the country, canvassing for votes, the NCCE reminds the public that political participation, association and voting are fundamental rights of every citizen, hence the need to exercise tolerance and civility throughout the period, and refrain from the use of abusive language, hate speech, provocative actions, intimidation, thuggery and physical confrontation at all times, as these contravene the laws of the Gambia. The general public is encouraged to stay away from any altercation and follow due process to seek redress when the need arises to ensure peace and stability throughout the process. Our collective desire for accelerated socio-economic growth and development could only be achieved in an atmosphere of peace and tranquility. The Gambia has a secret ballot system. Your vote is secret and will not be known by anyone. Every vote is important in an election, as each can make a difference, and as customary, counting shall be on the spot. Political affiliation is your right. Your vote, your choice. Vote wisely. This message is brought to you by the National Council for Civic Education with support from the United Nations Development Programme.
Marble app also provides information on all past certified presidential, parliamentary, local government elections and by-elections. Marble Gambia has a user-friendly interface, and thus its users will not experience any difficulties in navigating through the features of the application. Will also be able to interact with the source map to know which candidate is winning in every constituency. Luckily, Marble Gambia allows its users to receive live certified election results on election day. Download Marble Gambia today on App Store and Play Store and receive election results at your fingertip. This is brought to you by Gambia Participates and with support from National Endowment for Democracy and International Republican Institute.
Welcome back, and we now move over to the internationals, where at least 8 people have been killed and 17 injured, including students, in Somalia's capital in a car bombing that targeted a United Nations security convoy. The armed group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the huge blast that came in the early hours of Thursday, rocking Mogadishu and sending a column of smoke above the city. And with that, we head for our second break. The news continues in just a moment.
Niki ñeneenteeli fan ci weeri December 2021 Gambians dinañ amal sànnum carte ngir tànn njiiti réew mu jiite ñu ci diiri juróomi at yi ci kanam. ñii di waa Interparty Committee di mbootaay bi parti taxawal ci seen biir ngir bañ a réeroo ci ñoomi neen. ñii ñuy ñaax képp kuy doomi réew mi ak it ñi dëkkee ci réew mi ngir ñu sàmm suñ jàmm ji ak jëfee sarta yi Independent Electoral Commission tëral balaa élection bi ci biir élection bi ak it bu élection yi passé. gannaaw bi nga sànnee karta nga la ñibbil sa kër toog xaar xibaar yi jógee ko ci Independent Electoral Commission IEC. ñii di jongante ngir njiiti réew ak ñii ñu àndal ñu ngi leen a ñaax ngir ñu nangu xibaar wala results yi di bàyyeekoo ci IEC ñu di leen ko jottali te teg ko fu óor amul benn sikki sàkka. saa yoo yëgee ku bokk ci parti wala ku bokk ci jongante président bi wala ñiñ àndal buy jëf ñaawteef di xita sarta di fitna boole ko ci nomba bi di nomba kuréel bi parti yi taxawal di 2199930 ci bépp network ci réew mi doo fay dara. nañ leen bàyyi xel ci jàmm ji ci suñ biir te dax lépp luy fitna xibaar bi mu ngi bàyyeekoo ci waa Interparty Committee bi di Gambia IPC jàppale leen di waa National Democratic Institute for International Affairs NDI ak waa United Nations Development Programme UNDP.
It's an amazing offer. AfriMoney just got way better. The threshold for cash in and cash out on your AfriMoney has been increased.
Where it used to be 10,000 per transaction, now it has been increased to 30,000. Meaning, your AfriMoney account, you can now withdraw and deposit up to $30,000 at once.
Cashing in and out just got 3 times easier. For more info, call 777.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
And that break that takes us to the end of this edition of the news at 2000 hours. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories this hour. President Adama Barrow has received the final report of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, which details the work of the commission over the last 3 years. With just 9 more days to the end of the ways to the State House, presidential aspirants are moving closer to the metropolis to seek votes from the electorates. Chinese ambassador to the Gambia has briefed journalists
the 8th edition
on the
of the
upcoming
Forum on China-Africa Cooperation Program
on China
is due to be held in Dakar, Senegal.
The food and nutrition security in Sahelian and West African governments are meeting in Banjul to validate documents on food balance sheets and nutrition forecasts for Sahel and West African countries. On the internationals, we looked at Sudan, where at least 8 people have been killed and 17 injured, including students in the capital, in a car bombing that targeted a United Nations security convoy. Well, that was all we had time for in this edition of the news at 2200 hours. Many thanks for watching. And up next is our flagship, your favorite, the Election Watch. Stay tuned.
One property